Hello, the topic of this video is my turnout controls. Originally I used DCC decoders, but then I switched to loconet turnout decoders, because with the DCC decoders you can give the command to flip the turnouts, but then you don't know what the status of those turnouts are, like, because DCC is a one-way traffic. You don't get any feedback from the decoders, whereas with loconet some boards do supply you with feedback. So in this case, I started, when I switched to loconet, I started using these Team Digital boards, and they're very universal. What's nice is you could control them DCC or loconet, and they operate Pico coils, and also stall motors, and the different types that are available. And what's nice is the board also supplies 8 turnouts at the same time. So if you have a yard, you can have less, well, a little bit more, maybe more wiring between all the turnouts, but you have less decoder boards. So economical wise, there it was more efficient to go with these boards in the yards. So like I said, they also include some feedback information here. There's a little connector here, and then there's a snap-on board that I have on one of the other boards. Connects to this little connector. It might be hard to see back here. There's a connector there with 8 pins for the 8 different turnouts. So pretty smart board. And what's nice about them is that you can, even though you have you have a common and left and right for each turnout over here, you can assign different turnout addresses. So that's really nice. It makes the wiring of the turnouts easier in a yard. You can just physically wire them neatly with the wiring, and then when you go on and create your plan of your turnout addresses, if you have like GMRI, it would be nice to have them consistent, in the yard, so that they would match your plan instead of having them all random all over the place. So that's a nice thing about that board. But the problem that I had is I wanted, again, to have the feedback information. So here is Pico coils. There's one there, there's another one there. And you see that one has a little switch on it. So then I would have to wire a ground and 5 volts to each side of the switch. And then the output would go to again, one of these pins on this board. And then you can set up the board to give a feedback. But what I noticed is with the software that I'm using, you can interrogate when you turn on the layout, and then you do an interrogation. It'll tell you the proper sequence of those turnouts. So but that's the thing, is you have to issue a command for interrogate, and then I'll tell you what direction it is. Whereas the decoder here, this from MGP, hopefully that's nice and clear. These turnouts, they also supply for different type of stall motors and Pico coil. This is the more recent board, where it supports also the high-powered Pico coil, because the original versions was a little bit smaller and it was the low current, and I found that they weren't tripping very reliably. So then I went to this board, used the Pico coils, but again, I was not happy with the feedback, and also I ended up, since they support the MTB turnout motors, there's one that's down in the corner there, and let me see where there is another one. There's another one hidden, where is it? Up in there. So that has some contacts built into the motor, as opposed to having to add a switch like this one here. So that could be all wired up, and there's your sensors are coming in here on this side, and the turnouts are coming in on this side. This one supports 5 turnouts. The only negative I can say thing about this is they're sequential, the addresses, so you can't switch them around to make it a little bit easier for the addresses, as you could with the Team Digital SMD84. So that's one of the things. But the extra positive thing on that one is that because you have the feedback, you can go to the app, and I'll show you the app here. Let's see. Okay, here's the app. And let me see. Up here I can ask for the address. So I'll tap it here, I'll go back, and let's say address 30. Check the messages down here. I'll say 34. And right away there, it gave some information, but then it said turnout report, address 34, status thrown. So as soon as you put in the address, it tells you the state. Whereas the other coils that are the motors that are connected to the SMD84, if that's a turnout, let me see, turnout 16. I'll give it the address. It's just telling me here, turnout 16 interrogation, address 16. It's not actually giving me the position of the address. I can throw it. So now it's closed, thrown, and it's also, you know, flipping all the other turnouts that need to be. So if I go to 16, so now I know 16 is closed. So the only way to find out what the true direction of the turnout is to actually do a clear here. Then I send a command from my panel here. I can send this. Here's a button to send interrogation, so it interrogates the whole layout. I end up seeing all the information. So now the thing is, I would have to look through here and see if I see turnout 16, 21, 11. The 1100 series is the signal mass. Let me see. 16 closed. See, so right there it's telling me that 16 is closed. So that's the advantage of using the MGP decoders, is that as soon as you go for the number, it'll tell you what the address is. So let me see, I'll put in another address. I'll delete that. I'll put 30, just so that you see the little display down here. 3. So like it'll show what address 30 is, and then I'll do 1 for 31. And there it's giving me turnout, interrogation, address 31. Interesting, but it's not giving me, it's not telling me what direction it is flipped. So maybe the feedback on that one is not set. If I say 32, no. 33, no. 34, 34 status thrown. So the feedback might not be wired up on those decoders. So that's what's nice about those turnout decoders. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye.